when we live and practice the Buddha's path or the Buddha's way, there's one thing we should reflect very often. This is whatever happens to us right now is the result of the kamma we have done in the past. Be it the past of this life or be it the past of the last life. Just make sure that you remember this well. It is a help for us if you really want to practice. Whatever, no matter what, whatever happens right now is the result of our past actions. Be it verbal actions, be it mental actions, or be it bodily actions. The Lord Buddha teaches us there are chances, but it's very unlikely. Most of it, and you can assume it's 99.9% of whatever happens, is just the result of our own kamma. Just of the things we have done in the past, if you remember them or do not remember them, they are still our kamma. People are born, beings are born because of their kamma, and they will die because of their Dhamma, and they will be born again because of their kamma. Kamma is that what is our inheritance. And what is our inheritance? What we just have right now. It is easy said, but it's also easy forgotten. The moment we experience something that is more difficult, the moment we experience something that is something pressed, it seems to be pressed from outside. It is the result of our kamma. Just make sure. When we practice, when we go the path of the Lord Buddha, then if something like this happens, we reflect wisely upon it. We look what kind of action can lead to this kind of kamma that we are just right now experiencing. We can reflect upon, we can find, we can develop wisdom about this. So the next question is, when we find what kind of action could lead to this kind of kamma, then we look within ourselves. And the first time it is not easy. We look within ourselves if we still have the tendency of this kind of action or this kind of kamma is still residing within us. That is a very difficult task because the first thing that we assume, no, it is put from the outside. It's the environment, it's the teacher, it's this or it's that. Or people just don't care, or this is the government, or is this or that. It's the rain, or it's the sun, or it's the snow, or it's a dried up season. Whatever. We always look for the outside things first. We never look, okay, this is the kind of kamma I've done. Now, what kind of action could lead to this result of kamma? And do I have still the tendencies within me? And the answer to this, the first time we do it, is no, I don't have it anymore. Then we doubt that. We question that. Then how does it come about? If I don't have it, have I gotten rid of it? No. I have not gotten rid of it. So the tendency must be still there. So dig in. Dig in until you find a similar resemblance of this tendency within your own heart. And then remove it. Do you understand that? Don't just go about this and that in a careless matter or in a careless manner. Whatever we experience right now can be used to gain wisdom, can be used to reflect upon, can be used to make us understand. Kamma is the most difficult thing to understand. If we just go about it and just leave it alone, we will never be able to understand it. And that is this one way. This is just one way to understand Kamma. At least that's the way how I train myself. I didn't give in to chances, so I said whatever happens, is the result of my own Kamma. And I always found something. And as I told you in the beginning, the first time it was very, very difficult because I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit it that I still have the same tendencies that I, for instance, criticized in others or this or that. So it took a long time. It took a long time to dig down deep into the heart to find it. There it is. Maybe it's not as strong, as I experience it right now, but still it is there. Maybe it took 1 hour, maybe it took 2 hours, I don't remember. But I remember the first time it took a long time. The second time was a little bit quicker. So use this. If you happen to get into a difficult situation, and you think the difficult situation is made by the people around you or by the situation around you, then reflect upon what kind of Kamma or what kind of action could lead to this result of Kamma. And look within yourself to find that cause, to find that tendency of character that will lead to this kind of Kamma, and then get rid of it. If you do that all the time, your life will get easier and easier. It's not that the old Kamma will not come, but you can deal with it in a much more better way, in a much more fruitful way, in a much more wholesome way, than only to blame others or blame the situation. This is not done wisely. When we are practitioners, when we are going on the path of the Lord Buddha, we should always use the things that are at hand to get rid of our unwholesome thoughts, of our unwholesome speech, and of our unwholesome actions. Remember this well. People in the West say, that is good chance or that is bad. That is luck or this is fate. And when something terrible happens, they go and ask the Lord to take away that from them, to take the burden away from them. They go and run to the churches and ask, why did you put that burden on me? Please take it away from me. If they go and win in the lottery or something good is happening, I've never seen any person, going and running to church and say, please, Lord, take this away from me. Why is it only with bad things? Why is it only with unpleasant things that we think they are not from us? With pleasant things that happen all the time to us, we feel it belongs to us. It is our right. But with unpleasant things, we don't think it is our right. Do you see the crooks there? Do you see the thought, the misleading thought in this? If somebody gives something to us, then we think this is our right. Maybe we are pleased, maybe we are not pleased. If somebody takes away something from us, then we think, that is his problem, that is his fault. It's not our fault. That is where a big problem occurs within our practice. If you continue to think in this way, we will never get any chance to remove the causes for this kind of kamma within us. Because we always attribute it to outside things. We always attribute it to outside people, to the environment, to the government, or whatever. We will never attribute it to our own doing, to our own speech, and to our own thinking. And if we don't do that, we will never ever find the way to freedom. Just make sure that you use any kind of situation you come into for gaining wisdom. To practice the path of the Lord Buddha is not easy. But we can use any kind of situation to gain a little bit, and even if it's a bit, to gain a little bit of wisdom. And if you remember, wisdom is the one thing that will deliver us to freedom. Samadhi will not deliver us to freedom. And Sila will not deliver us to freedom, but only wisdom. That does not mean that we do not have to develop Samadhi and we do not have to develop our moral precepts. They go hand in hand. If our moral precepts are not refined enough, we cannot even enter Samadhi. It is somewhere in the suttas, I heard Tanacha Mahaprabhu citing it. It is said if the moral precepts are not taken carefully, people will have not the chance to enter Samadhi, because their conscience comes up and will prevent them to enter Samadhi. It's one of the things. If we don't have enough mindfulness, if we don't have enough awareness, we will not catch the things that are bothering our mind. So we cannot investigate them and we cannot get rid of them. So Sila, Samadhi and Panya all belong to the path. But Panya is the only thing that will deliver us. But if we do not develop our Sila and if we do not develop enough Samadhi or enough concentration, enough mindfulness, we will not succeed. Because then the Panya will just be turning around knowledge and turning around knowledge. And if knowledge could free us, then we would be all free by now. But because knowledge and derived knowledge will never be able to free us, the only thing that will free us is the wisdom, is insight, seeing inside the true nature of things. That is the only thing that will relieve us. The moment the heart sees that something it does is unwholesome, it immediately lets go of it. We cannot let go of it, even if you hear it sometimes in the West. Just let go of it. We cannot let go of greed and hate. The only thing is, what we can do is to teach the heart to see it, to see the unwholesomeness it does every moment or every second. Once a heart understands that it actually burns itself, it will let go. Just like the child, when it puts its hand into the fire, sees that it burns its hand and that is very, very unpleasant, it will never ever do it again. Not even think about it. And that is a similar for our heart. Once our heart understands, once our heart sees it, once the chitta, or better, the chitta understands and sees it, completely understands it. And you can only understand it if it's completely aware of what is going on. Then it sees the harm, immediately sees and immediately recognizes the harm it does unto itself. And then at that moment it lets go. There's no way that we can force the heart to let go. We can think about this is unwholesome, that is unwholesome. It doesn't remove. We have to show, we have to teach the heart that the things that we are doing, or the things that it is doing, is unwholesome. It's burning. It's fire. It's nothing that it really wishes. Then the heart itself will let go. Because the function of the heart or the function of the citta is also letting go. It's knowing, it's understanding, and it's letting go. Once it's understood, it lets go. And it lets go forever. It never ever thinks about it again. Once it really completely understands. If it hasn't yet completely understood, it might let go bit by bit. That is okay. The deeper our insight, the more it let go. When we do practice, we always have to remind ourselves of these things. Don't get fooled by the circumstances, and don't get fooled by other people, and don't think that the other people are suppressing you or putting you in a difficult situation. It's you yourself who put yourself in this difficult situation. It's your own doing. It's your own speech and it's your own thoughts that put you in a difficult situation. And for us as practitioners is to understand how we do it, be aware of when we do it, and be aware of the being aware of the punishment that comes with it. The moment the citta truly understands that it is punished for its own action, it will not do it again. The path of practice, the path of the Lord Buddha, is not a path of practice in comfort, in luxury. It's a simple way of living that will lead to results. The simple kind of living, actually you can call it ascetic practices. The simple kind of life that we lead as monks or nuns or lay people or practitioners is helpful to understand the nature of the citta. If we live all the time in comfort, like if we go to a meditation center where we sleep on beds or we sleep on mattresses and have 3 meals a day, and we work together or we sit in a nice and beautiful environment, a meditation hall, all together, then this is not helpful in the terms of showing us the difficulties of life. So the Lord Buddha didn't announce this to be that the style of life that his practitioners should follow. He announced it that the hills, that the cave, that the forest or the open space, these are the places where a practitioner exalts himself. These are the places, and when he goes there, he goes alone. He doesn't go in groups, he doesn't go in masses like mass meditation, he just goes there just by himself. The Lord Buddha also suggested that these places, or that the bhikkhus or the practitioners should go to places that are frightening. Like places, we call it cemeteries, but it's actually burial grounds, where we can see corpses, where we can see corpses being burned up. These are places normal people are frightened of. Places in the wilderness are places people are frightened of. Staying in a cave, people are frightened of. If they're not going for 3 or 4 people, if they're just going on themselves, they're all frightening places. And the Lord Buddha knew why he said that we should go there. There was a reason for him to say this. He knew that we couldn't go, that we wouldn't find enlightenment within the city, or within a house, or within the comfort we are living in. We have to strip down the comfort to see how the heart reacts, how the chitta will react when it is stripped of all the comfort. When it's rainy and one gets wet, and when it's cold and when it's hot, then the chitta reacts. The chitta reacts in a very way that is very unpleasant. Ow. มาทำไม ไง สงสัยเป็นผู้หญิงนะ ชาติก่อนเป็นผู้หญิงแล้วฮะ This life your huh? โอ้โห Okay, enough. So where was I? Staying in lonely places, living a life of simplicity. It brings us all the discomfort. It brings us a lot of reaction, a lot of unpleasant reactions. A lot of unpleasant reactions. The Lord Buddha didn't teach us the way, to suffer. He taught us the way because the First Noble Truth talks about dukkha. There is dukkha. But because all of our life we didn't want to see this dukkha. Now the Lord Buddha defined a way how to show it to us that there is dukkha. Wherever we go, there is dukkha. If you don't have enough food, that is dukkha. If you don't have enough sleep, that it's dukkha. If you are cold, it's dukkha. It's all uncomfortable. That's why he suggested these places to bring up this kind of dukkha. To see for ourselves how much there is dukkha. And to overcome dukkha. To see that within an uncomforting situation, our mind still can be happy. It still can be completely contented. He wanted to show us that our chitta is not dependent on the situation it is in. But this is not the state we are in yet. That's why we have to learn it. It's the same reason. These kind of places, also the kind of ascetic practices, to fast is one, to take little food is one of the practices. To eat only the food that one gathers on alms round is one of the ascetic practices. Not to lie down for sleeping is one of the ascetic practices. To live in the open space is one of the ascetic practices, or to live under a tree, and so on. Just to clothe oneself with discarded cloth is one of the ascetic practices. And discarded cloth at that time was mostly cloth where the corpses of the dead people were covered in. Now think about yourself, taking the cloth of a dead person, wash it up. You still have the idea that this is something very, very disgusting, of a very disgusting nature. This is one thing that concerns our living. Now he doesn't say to comfort our mind with pleasant thoughts. He actually points us in the direction to bring up a lot of unpleasant thoughts by thinking about the true nature of this body. doing a super. A super is nothing else than bringing unpleasant thoughts. Just to be able to deal with them. The first thing that we learn with unpleasantness is to stay with it and see, when it comes, we see it. It has to arise and it has to cease. Anicca. It's impermanent. It arises slowly and it has its peak and it vanishes. That's unpleasantness. So we stay with it, watch it from the beginning till the end. And then when unpleasantness ceases, we will see something pleasant might come up. It will just change to the opposite. And then pleasant come up, pleasantness will have its peak, and then it will cease, and then some unpleasantness will come. Just observe it for yourself. But if we attach to this unpleasantness, it can stay for hours or days or months. Because with every thought we have, this is unpleasant, this is what, I don't deserve this, I don't want this is not me. That is not my fault. Then we stick to it. We attach to it and it can last for hours, or it can last for days, or it can last for weeks. Because we are attached to this, not wanting to face up to it. So the path of practice, to sum it up, the path of practice is actually to deal with unpleasantness. Because all our life we have been running for the pleasant things. And now we have first to understand the unpleasant thing. Because all our life we have been avoiding unpleasant things. Just think about it. You see something unpleasant and immediately your look goes away. You see something pleasant and your look or your eyes stare at it. Why is that? We trained it like this. Now whenever we see something unpleasant, whenever we see or feel or experience something unpleasant, we stay with it. Whenever we see something pleasant, we look away. That's just the training of the opposites. And can be very, very effective. It shows us that no matter what is happening, our citta can be completely calm or can be completely equanimous with whatever is happening. If we got hit or if we got admired, if we got cursed, or if our fortune is taken away from us, we can be completely equanimous because it has nothing to do with us. Just like within, this is not me, that is not mine, that doesn't belong to me. Whatever arises, whatever ceases is not me. It's not mine and it doesn't belong to us. Now this kind of simplistic life, as it is led here, and you will feel it, and you will see it, and sometimes it's more comfortable and sometimes it's more discomfort. We will live with it. We will stay with it, we will stick with it. It's a time or it's a place, and that's why the Lord Buddha suggested it, it's a place, to get in touch with this. All our life we have been running away from it, now we get in touch with it. Get in touch with it to understand the true nature of unpleasantness. That actually unpleasantness is not happening within our heart, but it's happening outside. It's not happening within what really knows. It's happening that we know. It's happening outside. And whatever happens outside, let it happen. You cannot change it. There's no way that you can change. You cannot change the world to turn around. You cannot change the people. You cannot change the opinions of the people. All what you can change is yourself. The reaction towards these unpleasant things. Once we trained ourselves long enough dealing with unpleasantness, then we might be able to deal in the same way with pleasantness. Not to attach to it, but just to stay how it arises and ceases. Not wanting it, like we do not want the unpleasant things, so we do not want the pleasant things. But we see them arising and ceasing due on their own nature. Once we can just observe them and see that these things just arise and cease, depending on the law of kamma, depending on the law of the nature of all things. Arising and ceasing, and we cannot do anything. Not at the moment. Once we learn to stay with these unpleasant things, once we learn then to stay with pleasant things and not being attached to it, and stay with unpleasant feelings and not disagree with them, then we actually can change. Then we actually are in the power to replace an unpleasant state with a pleasant state, and to replace a pleasant state with an unpleasant state. To further or to deepen the understanding of the nature of pleasantness and unpleasantness. Once we see how we can destroy one thing with the other, then we can stick them both at the same time. And that takes a lot of training. Stick them both, see. One part is unpleasant, one part is pleasant. And then we can walk through the middle of it. And we pass both pleasantness and unpleasantness. And with passing pleasantness and unpleasantness, we pass greed and hate. It's a heart that has to understand the true nature of pleasantness. It has to understand the true nature of unpleasantness before it can pass through it. Just in the middle of it. And once it turns around, that's the end of greed and hate. And greed and hate will never come again. They will never ever bother us again. So it's a long way. And I just reminded you of the worth of these unpleasant feelings and the worth of investigating and stick it out to see the true nature, because it will end up. This kind of investigation that I was talking in the beginning, this will end up to our benefit. It will end, or it will lead us to the end of greed and hate. And with the end of greed and hate, there will be no more birth in the realms of the conventional reality. In the realms of heaven, or in the realms of hell, or in the lower realms, or in the human realm. If you don't make it this life, then there are 5 special heavens designed for this state. That's the stage of Anagami, who has gone beyond greed and hate. So if you want to get there, then you have to deal with unpleasant things. And you will be surprised how many unpleasant things come. And this life, and that is why the Lord Buddha designed this kind of life. And that is what I want you to remember all the time. This kind of life, this kind of forest life is designed to bring up these things. To bring up unpleasant feelings, to be able to deal with these unpleasant things. The Lord Buddha didn't want to torment us, he just wanted to show us that these things do exist within our own citta. You understand that? He wanted to show us, because they do exist. We have never in our life, took a closer look at them, because we avoided them all the time. And that's why He gave us a simplistic life, or that's why He gave us also the contemplation of this body, to see the loathsomeness of this body. It's all designed to lead us to freedom. Lead us to freedom from greed and hate. So, and with this, I end my talk.